Spooky season is sadly coming to a close, but we've got some great things coming up in November, so let's talk about those great things. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR, this time for November, guys, of 2023. The penultimate month of the year, guys. The holidays are starting here in the States, so things are kind of either slow down or they're going to speed up. Slow down because there's lots of family stuff that goes on this time of year. Speed up because I get lots of time off this time of year. So we don't know. Anything can and will happen. But guys, I got lots of cool things coming up in November that I want to read. Some things that were kind of unexpected and some things that maybe I had originally planned, and I'm going to kind of be sticking with that. But there were some things that did come up and some things that I just wanted to change because I just felt like it. You know, I'm trying to be a little more impulsive. There are some things that I'm still trying to wrap up before the year does end, but I think there's room for some other things on here. Now, guys, I want to say before I start today with this TBR is that 3 of the books on here are sequel books. So if you are super sensitive to spoilers, look, I go through these and I feel like I edit them the way that I think the most. It's going to make no sense out of context. But, you know, if you want to know absolutely nothing about these books, I always like to warn people so I don't get accused of ruining your life, because I've ruined a lot of lives on this channel, guys. So let's kick it off, guys. November, we will be returning to the realm of the Elderlings. And we are beginning that last trilogy of books in that series with Fitz and the Fool. This is Fool's Assassin, book number 1. Now, I was making sure I said the same because I think I'd actually wrote Fool's Quest earlier. So, I think with these, it's like the ultimate name generator when it comes up with trying to remember these names. But however, after I start reading them for a while, I start to remember the order that they do go in. I remember when I first started reading Wheel of Time, I was like, I'm never going to be able to tell you the order of those books. Now I can do it, inside and out. So it just kind of happened. But this one's a little tougher because so many of these names are very similar. But I did take a quick break while I was reading through this, obviously for spooky season. That stuff just kind of was what I wanted to make sure I focused on for the month of October. But getting back to the Fitz and the Fool, hoping I can still finish that trilogy before the end of the year, but we will see what happens. But as for Fool's Assassin, guys, what is this one about? Well, Tom Badgerlock, he has been living peacefully in the manor house at Withy Woods with his beloved wife for many years. The estate is a reward to the family for loyal service to the crown. But behind the facade of respectable middle age lies a turbulent and violent past. For Tom Badgerlock is actually Fitz Chivalry Farseer, bastard scion of the Farseer line, convicted user of beast magic, and an assassin. A man who has risked much for his king and lost even more. On a shelf in his den sits a picture carved in memory stone of a man, a wolf, and a fool. Once these 3 were inseparable friends, but one is long gone, and one is long missing. Then one Winterfest night a messenger arrives to seek out Fitz, but mysteriously disappears, leaving behind nothing but a blood trail. What was the message? Who was the sender? And what happened to the messenger? Suddenly Fitz's violent old life erupts in the peace of a new world, and nothing and no one is safe, guys. Fitz and the Fool, this always seems to be either 1 or 2 when people are ranking these trilogies in I guess if you count the 4 from, these sub-series in the realm of the Elderlings. This always seems to be one that is very highly regarded by the fandom. So I'm very excited to get back to Fitz. I was kind of lukewarm on the Rain Wilds, and I wasn't even as bonkers about Tawny Man as everyone else. To me, Live Ship has been the top of this series so far for me, so we'll see if it can kind of compete with that. But Robin Hobb, great at Slice of Life. I'm just hoping she has a little bit more going on with that than she did with the Tawny Man. And I'm just rambling now, but hey, I'm very excited to return to those characters now because, I'm good with never revisiting the Rain Wilds ever again. What's the other series I'm going to be wrapping up this year, guys? That is The Expanse. We're going to get back to that one. This is book number 8, Tiamat's Wrath. This is very exciting, guys, because what I continue to say about this every month is I feel like The Expanse has been incredibly consistent. Like, even my least favorite book, which was probably Babylon's Ashes, it was still pretty dang good. So, I mean, if that's your worst book in your series, man, this is exciting. And book 7 was awesome. Ended on a big cliffhanger. So this has actually been quite hard. But it's gotten to that point now where I'm getting it's kind of bittersweet, penultimate book in the series here. and I'm gonna miss, the crew of the Rocinante. And some friends have already departed the story a little bit earlier than I thought they would, and things like that. That's always going to happen when you're dealing with outer space, because outer space is a cruel, cruel mistress, you guys. But this series is just awesome. Cannot wait to see how that cliffhanger is resolved. But Tiamat's Wrath, guys, book number 8 of The Expanse. What is this one about? Well, 1,300 gates have opened to solar systems around the galaxy. But as humanity builds its interstellar empire in the alien ruins, the mysteries and threats grow deeper. In the dead systems where gates lead to stranger things and alien planets, Elvia Okoye begins a desperate search to discover the nature of a genocide that happened before the first human beings existed, and to find weapons to fight a war against forces at the edge of the imaginable. But the price of that knowledge may be higher than she can pay. At the heart of the Empire, Teresa Duarte prepares to take on the burden of her father's godlike ambition. The sociopathic scientist Paulo Cortazar and his prisoner James Holden are only two of the dangers in a palace thick with intrigue. But Teresa has a mind of her own, and secrets even her father, the Emperor, doesn't guess. And throughout the wide human empire, the scattered crew of the Rocinante fights a brave rearguard action against Duarte's authoritarian regime. Memory of the old order falls away, and a future under Laconia's eternal rule, and with it a battle that humanity can only lose, seems more and more certain, because against the terrors that lie between worlds, courage and ambition will not be enough. Super excited to continue with this one, guys. So I know I've said that I've been excited about this book for about the last 5 or 6 times, but it was really hard in October being sick into my spooky season plans, because I really did want to get back to this. It was really, really hard after I finished book 7 to wait to get to this one. So I am very, very hopeful. I'm hoping it's one of those that doesn't really do. A lot of times with penultimate books, it seems like it's just setting up the finale. So I'm hoping it's not that. But I've just heard from everybody that, 7, 8, 9 are the best books in this series. So I'm excited to find out. So far, Nemesis Games has been my favorite. But I think it's not untouchable. Let's put it that way. It's not untouchable. I feel like it could be topped if things continue to pop off like they have in this universe. But I am getting scared now for some of my members of the Rocinante, and that they might not make it through. But that's just the name of the game when you are dealing with science. What's up next, guys? Well, I have had a stance on this channel where I said I want to kind of move away from the rereads. I mean, that was something I felt like I was just kind of barring myself down. As I was doing the Into the Multiverse, I started rereading Michael Crichton, things like that. I was just like, I started redoing A Song of Ice and Fire, and I was looking at my months, and I was like, 3 of the 4 books I've got planned this month are rereads, and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to read all this stuff behind me. No way. There's just no way I'm going to be able to do it all. So I said I want to kind of stop. However, I did kind of have a little asterisk on that, and I kind of did a short about it recently, because the next book, guys, is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, a book that I have already read. In case you didn't catch that short, guys, I read this in 1996. I remember that year exclusively because it was a good friend of mine, Brian, in our literature class, and he was like, hey, man, I'm reading this book that I think you would really like. And I'm like, well, what is it? He's like, what's called Pillars of the Earth? I'm like, great name. That's a great name. What's it about? He says, well, okay, so you got this guy who wants to build a cathedral, and there's like this bishop who wants to build a cathedral, and it's like set against the backdrop of this, this like struggle, and there's kind of building this cathedral in like the 1200s, and I'm like, that doesn't sound very exciting, Brian. He's like, just shut up and trust me. You know what? He was right. Because, guys, look how thick this book is. And I ripped through this book. And that was back when I was, 17 years old. So, I mean, it's exciting times to go back to try to revisit this. And the reason I want to redo this one, guys, is because I do plan to get into the Kingsbridge sequels next year. And I said, I'd like to go back and start that. And I know they're all standalones, and I feel like you can probably just go. I could have just went to World Without End and been fine. But I don't mind. I don't mind revisiting this one because, like I said, this is a top 20 book all time. No question, without a doubt. Probably the best historical fiction book ever written. And I don't know. That's a conversation for another time. I haven't read enough historical fiction to make a list like that. But that is kind of a wild boast. And I think I actually had one in my top 10. So, yeah. I might be shooting myself in the foot there. But, guys, this is an amazing, amazing book. So I don't mind rereading it. And if it can get other people to pick this up for the first time, because I've been talking about this for years. I did my best book ones like 3 years ago, and this one was on there. And a lot of people were like, I don't know. I've always kind of flirted with it, never did it. And then they do it, and they're like, oh, my God, it's so amazing. I'm like, I know. So I hope maybe some more people will pick it up. And maybe they'll read along with me, and we can get into the Kingsbridge sequels sometimes next year. But are you one of the handful of people who have not read Pillars of the Earth? And you want to know what this book is about, guys? Well, it is mostly about a guy building a church, but there is just a little bit more to it. So the year is 1135, and civil war, famine, and religious strife abound. With his family on the verge of starvation, Mason Tom Builder dreams of the day that he can use his talents to create and build a cathedral like no other. Philip, prior of Kingsbridge, is resourceful, but with money scarce, he knows that for his town to survive, it must find a way to thrive. And so he makes a decision to build within it the greatest Gothic cathedral the world has ever known. As Tom and Philip meet, so begins their quest of ambition against anarchy and absolute power. In a world beset by strife and enemies that would thwart their plans, they will stop at nothing to achieve their ambitions in a struggle between good and evil that will turn church against state and brother against brother. And guys, there is so much more going on in this story. It's just, it really is hard. I'm thinking back to my friend Brian now, and I'm like, I can see why it was hard for him to explain what this book was about. And you just think about it, guys. How hard was it to build something like that in 12th century England? It's really quite remarkable. But it's an incredible journey, and there's so many other great characters. Jack is just an amazing, amazing character. And I mean, it's a great, great journey. And I'm thinking, here we are talking about like 25 years ago I read this damn book, and I still remember so much about it. So I'm excited to get back to it and visit, with a little bit more veteran eyes. What I say about when you go back and you read Stephen King stuff, and I get a lot more out of it, from the adult perspective that I hadn't had when I was a teenager because I hadn't been through those real life wars yet. So I'm not that I'm saying that I spent a lot of time in 12th century England, but I'm saying that maybe I can relate to some of the adult characters a little more, not just be rooting for Jack the whole time. But I probably still will because Jack's great. Jack is the best. He is the best. But guys, I am excited to get back to that. Like I said, I hope some of you guys will join me if you have not read it yet. So that's a big one. That's a big boy. But I'm telling you, you have no idea how fast you will just fly through this. There is absolutely no fluff. This is just straight meat and potatoes, guys. Fantastic book. Hope you guys will join me. This one's kind of a surprise because this was going to be on the list for next year. But I did get an email from Jay Kristoff the other day, and it wasn't just to tell me about these new metal bands, because Jay Kristoff will email me all the time. Ever since our talk that we had a couple years ago, he all the time will just occasionally drop me an email and be like, hey man, check out this band and show me some metal horns. I'm just like, okay. So he's always recommending good metal bands to me, and we kind of just goof off sometimes in direct messages. But he sent me a message the other day and said, hey, just want to let you know, Empire of the Damned, the Ark is on the way to you, mate. And I'm like, oh my God. So guys, this is my most anticipated book of 2024. I'll go ahead and spoil that. That is my most anticipated book, because I loved Empire of the Vampire, and I know a lot of you have strong opinions about it, one way or the other. I am this way. I think that it is an awesome, awesome book. It's what got me into Jay Kristoff. I read Nevernight after it, loved it too. And the fact that Jay is just such a kick-ass guy helps. But I am very excited to get back to this universe, because book one completely surprised me, melted my face off. It was one of my favorite books of that year, and it's amazing. It's just this big, beefy ass book, and it was just showed me that vampires can be scary again, man. That's what I've been waiting for. Vampires can be sexy, but they can also be scary, and they are very, very scary in that book. So I can't wait to get back to it, and I'm just so thrilled I get to read this one early, because I don't know if you guys know this as a reviewer. Unless you're certain people, it's really hard, it seems like, to depend on getting an advanced reader copy. Now, I don't ever think that I'm entitled to these things. It just seems so weird that it's so hard to get a advanced reader copy of some of this. And I know that it frustrates authors just as much. And that's why a lot of authors now are taking it into their own hands, like Jay, making sure that he is sending me one personally. So I'm very excited. It's going to be a physical Ark too, which is so cool. Now, I have this later in the month because I don't know how long things take to get to the States from Australia. I don't imagine it's quick. But, as soon as I get that in my hand, I will pick that one up and start. So if you guys haven't read Empire of the Vampire, please do so, because I think you'll want to join me on this ride. Even though it doesn't come out until February, I'll still be ready and willing to talk to you about it, because I just know it's going to be great. But what is Empire of the Damned about? Well, Gabriel de Leon, he saved the Holy Grail from death, but his chance to end the endless night is lost. Drawn into an uneasy alliance with the mysterious vampire, Gabriel must now deliver the Grail to the ancients of the Blood Isani and learn the truth of how Day's death might finally be undone. But the last Silver State faces peril, within and without. Pursued by children of the Forever King, drawn into wars and webs centuries in the weaving, and ravaged by his own rising bloodlust, Gabriel may not survive to see the truth of the Grail revealed, a truth that may be too awful for him to imagine. So guys, this exciting stuff. I mean, you can tell that just genuine excitement here. I cannot wait. I'd already accepted I wasn't going to be reading this until February, so getting a jump on it 3 months in advance, very exciting. So if Jay does watch this, I would say, man, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see what you've come up with. Well, that's all I have planned because these are going to be 4 massive, massive books. I do have a bonus, though. I will be starting Percy Jackson. Well, I guess it's not Percy Jackson anymore. It's just called Heroes of Olympus. It's the Son of Neptune. This is book number 2 in the Heroes of Olympus. But Percy is in this one. So my kid's very excited. He was very... It took him a while to accept that there were 3 new characters in book number 1. That's why I think it took us a little while. But he got to the point where he accepted them, and then he saw the title of this book, and he figured out, oh my God, Percy's coming back. So he's very, very excited. I'm excited to continue with my kid because we do enjoy it. And like I've said a million times, I expected to be completely miserable, face palming the whole time I was reading these to him. But they've been a lot of fun. I'm actually quite enjoying them. So hopefully we will finish the Heroes of Olympus before he decides one day that he doesn't need Dad to read to him at night anymore. And that day's coming soon. It's going to break my heart. I'm not going to lie. It will break my heart a little bit. But, we train our kids to go out into the world, right? And I feel like I've done that. And hopefully he'll start picking some of these up on his own, and we can just read them at the same time and talk about them, instead of me having to do 48 voices every single night and completely blowing my voice out, because some of those voices, he's very demanding when it comes to those voices. He really, really is. I got a couple of if timers on here. This really just kind of depends on how I get through these books. Things, like I said, with the holidays can be very unpredictable. You can find yourself with extra time, but you can also find yourself with a lot of commitments during the holidays. It can happen. We are doing some major home reconstruction now, so that might take up some of my time. But if I do got some time, guys, I will finally be getting to The Toll by Neil Shusterman. I know I've been kicking this one down the road now for like 3 months, but it is still on the list. I think that'll be a good, because I got 4 kind of thick books here this month. So maybe if I need one a little lighter, not that that's not thick, but it is a YA novel, and you can zip through those really, really quick. So I'll be getting to that one. Can continue with One Piece. I'm in the Arabasta or Alabasta. I can never remember which it is, but I'm in the Arabasta saga right now. So I'll continue with those just slowly but surely. I will continue to do those and hopefully continue to talk to you guys about it. That old video of the first arc did actually finally pick up a little bit. East Blue, the saga did actually pick up a little bit. So I'm hoping there's enough interest for me to continue reviewing those by the sagas. But it'll be a bit before I finish Arabasta. And then say I get really ahead of myself, well, Fool's Quest by Robin Hobb, I'll be trying to, like I said, I'll be trying to do all 3 of those books in 2 months, but I don't know if it's going to happen. But I'm still trying. That was the plan for Philip and I. But I think he got a little behind as well, so we might not finish that until January. We will see. We will see, guys, but I'm very excited to continue with that series. And for all these things I've got planned in November, as you can see, it's going to be a very, very fun month. It's always a hoot, during spooky season, getting to read a lot of extra new horror books and things like that. But it's also, hey, it's like Return of the King when you get back to fantasy and sci-fi the next month. But like I said, guys, don't worry. I am going to start to filter in a little bit of extra horror during the years going forward. Starting in 2024, I've already got some plans for some horror standalones in there, so we can kind of trickle that in when things get a little sluggish. That does happen from time to time. So guys, November, you got anything planned? Are you going to check out any of these with me? I would love to have you along for any of them. Are you just completely pissed at me because I'm getting an arc of Empire of the Damned? I understand. I would be quite mad too. Like when I saw those people with the Lightbringer arc, I was like, yeah. So it does happen. I'm not blessed for all these things, but I have been very fortunate to get this one, so I'm very excited to do it. And I'm excited about all these, and I'm excited to hear what you guys are going to read in November. So drop in the comments, guys, and let me know, and I will talk to you there.